very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you, and here are the latest headlines. India raises human rights abuses in Balochistan POK at UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva, slams Pakistan for fueling unrest in Kashmir. India and Afghanistan's stern message to Pakistan. Both countries call for an end to state-sponsored terrorism. India commits $1 billion for development in Afghanistan. Samajwadi Party's internal feud shows no signs of ending. Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav calls it a fight for government. Shivpal Yadav meets Mulayam Singh in Delhi, says he is happy with new responsibility. Eleven deaths due to chikungunya in Delhi. Dengue death toll climbs to 14. Union Health Minister seeks report from Delhi government. And Syria ceasefire extended for another 48 hours after it appears to be holding for last 2 days. No deaths in area covered by peace agreement. Our top story this morning, India has strongly raised the issue of Balochistan for the first time before the 33rd session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva on Wednesday. Now, raising the issue of Balochistan, India accused Pakistan of widespread human rights violations there, as well as in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. In a scathing attack on Pakistan, India's ambassador to UN, Ajit Kumar, also called Pakistan a hub for global export of terror, saying it continues to be in illegal occupation of a large part of territory in Jammu and Kashmir. India said that the main reason for disturbances in Kashmir is cross-border terrorism sponsored by Pakistan. He also added that Pakistan is characterized by authoritarianism, absence of democratic norms and widespread human rights violations across the country, including in Balochistan. Earlier on Tuesday, Indian Foreign Ministry rejected a plea by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to allow a team of UN officials to visit Kashmir and take stock of the ground situation here.
The entire Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. And what remains actually is the vacation of that illegal territory occupied by Pakistan. Also, the use of phrase Indian administered Kashmir is artificial one.
And the Supreme Court on Wednesday dismissed a PIL against government funding to separatists in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in the plea, the petitioner had sought to stop the central funds and security being given to separatists in Kashmir. The apex court also slammed the petitioner for calling Hurriyat leaders as separatists and refused to use that term in its order. The PIL filed in September had alleged that the separatists are misusing the money given to them to finance anti-India activities. Meanwhile, curfew was imposed in Rajouri town of Jammu and Kashmir after tension prevailed between the members of two communities following stone pelting incidents. The army has also called in for a flag march but has been put on standby. Meanwhile, an investigation has been initiated by the police into alleged instigation of mobs which led to damage to property, and a case has been registered in the matter. Now, helicopters, drones and UAVs continue to hover over the valley's skyline for maintaining vigil. Meanwhile, in related news, the security forces on Wednesday recovered arms and ammunition from a mini secretariat building which was occupied by terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district. The three-day encounter that started on Saturday morning came to an end with the killing of 4 militants. Now, Poonch Senior Superintendent of Police J.S. Johar said that he recovered arms including AK rifles with their magazines, of which around 16 were damaged, and also recovered food items. The security officials cordoned off the area for a security check before they allowed civilians around the mini secretariat.
जो इनसे आर्म्स एंड एमिनिशंस मिले हैं उसमें 4 AK सीरीज़ की राइफल्स हैं और उसके साथ मैगजीन्स हैं 16 के करीब। उसमें कुछ जो हैं वो डिस्ट्रॉयड हैं, डैमेज्ड हैं और उसके साथ कुछ खाने का मटेरियल है और जला हुआ भी कुछ मटेरियल है जो इन्होंने टेररिस्ट ने जला दिया था। हमने ऑपरेशन क्लोज करने के बाद सेफगार्ड कर दिया था दोनों लोकेशंस को। उनमें क्योंकि सैनिटाइजेशन होना था, वो अभी जो है सैनिटाइजेशन जो है हम कर रहे हैं, और जैसे ही सैनिटाइजेशन कंप्लीट हो जाएगा तो हम फिर बिल्डिंग को सेफ डिक्लेयर करेंगे।
On to some other news now, and India has offered a grant of $1 billion to Afghanistan towards the development of the war-torn country. Now, in a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani at a Hyderabad house in New Delhi, both the countries also agreed for greater cooperation in defence and trade.
In a stern message to Pakistan, India and Afghanistan called for an end to all support, sponsorship and safe havens to terrorists. Holding extensive talks in the capital on Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Afghan President Ashraf Ghani expressed their resolve to counter terrorism and strengthen security and defence cooperation in the region as per the India-Afghanistan Strategic Partnership Agreement.
Two leaders discussed the regional situation and expressed grave concern at the continued use of terrorism and violence in the region for achieving political objectives. They agreed that this phenomenon presented the single biggest threat to peace, stability and progress in the region and beyond. And they called for elimination of all forms of terrorism.
They do not behave like malign non-state actors vis-a-vis their neighbors. They see a collective security to be the objective, and that's what brings stability. Stability does not come from the barrel of the gun.
Reiterating India's abiding support for a democratic, peaceful and prosperous Afghanistan, India also promised aid of $1 billion for Afghanistan's capacity and capability building in education, health, agriculture, empowerment of women and energy. Emphasizing on the need for Indian business chambers to contribute towards Afghanistan, President Ghani said two-way trade between both countries should reach $10 billion in the next 5 years with enhanced air connectivity.
Let's start with a target of 10 billions in trade and investment. 5 years, and we are going to realize it. What unites us, and I echo the words of the minister, is our democratic values, our commitment to peace, our commitment to a world secure for children, secure for women, a world where opportunities can be created for the poor.
Ghani arrived on Wednesday on his second visit to India in less than 2 years. Both sides also signed 3 agreements including the extradition treaty, cooperation in civil and commercial matters, and the Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news. Well, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari will embark on a visit to Venezuela today to attend the 17th NAM Summit. With the Prime Minister Narendra Modi giving the summit a miss, he will represent the nation. While the summit, which started 13th of September, will end on 18th of September, is taking place in Venezuela's Margarita Island and has meetings scheduled in 3 consecutive segments. Meetings of senior officials, foreign ministers meeting and a conference of heads of state and government. The Non-Aligned Movement Summit is expected to bring together leaders from 120 developing countries that are its members. International delegations on Wednesday arrived for the summit. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Mushfir Javed Akbar, and Serbia's Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić were among the first to arrive. The last NAM summit was hosted by Iran in 2012. And Nepal's new Prime Minister, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, or Prachanda as he is known, will arrive in India on a 4-day state visit. This will be his first bilateral visit abroad after assuming office. He will meet President Pranab Mukherjee, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other ministers on Friday. He will be accompanied by a high-level delegation. The visit will provide an opportunity for both the sides to discuss issues of mutual interest and concern, as well as seek ways to strengthen the age-old close and friendly ties between the two countries in diverse sectors. But he's not likely to sign any new deals after bilateral ties went through some bitter experience over Madheshi stir during his predecessor's tenure. Now, Prachanda has also briefed the Nepal Parliament on Tuesday about his upcoming visit to India and expressed his government's commitment on amending the new constitution and said that his trip to New Delhi was not linked to it. Earlier, Nepal's Foreign Minister Prakash Sharan Mahath had visited India and met his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj to prepare the ground for meeting between Prachanda and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meanwhile, in Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party is battling an internal feud with Akhilesh Yadav and his uncle at loggerheads. While the two leaders have tried to play down the rift, it is not good sign for the ruling party in Uttar Pradesh that is staring at assembly elections early next year.
कहीं कोई नाराजगी थी ही नहीं और जो जिम्मेदारी देंगे मुख्यमंत्री जो जिम्मेदारी देंगे नेताजी जो जिम्मेदारी देंगे तो उनका अधिकार है तो उसका पालन हम लोगों को करना है.
Shivpal Yadav after meeting Samajwadi Party chief and his elder brother Mulayam Singh Yadav in Delhi. The meeting lasted over 4 hours and is believed to have told Mulayam Singh that he has followed the party supremo's directions despite having differences of opinion on certain issues. This marathon meeting coming after a bitter showdown between Shivpal Yadav and Akhilesh Yadav, though the latter also tried to play down the feud.
मैं समझता हूँ परिवार की बात है. परिवार में नेताजी का सब कहना माने और सब कहना माने और मैंने भी कहना ही माना. अगर कोई मैंने निर्णय लिया है तो मैंने नेताजी के कहने से ही और नेताजी का मानना भी काम किया. कभी-कभी कुछ निर्णय अपने आप ले लिए जाते हैं. तो नेताजी के कहने से भी निर्णय लिए और कुछ मैंने अपने आप लिए.
The rift surfaced as Shivpal Yadav was made state unit chief by Mulayam Singh, but was divested of important portfolios by Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav. Mulayam is likely to reach Lucknow on Friday morning amid indications that he may have a one-on-one meeting with Akhilesh. Shivpal Yadav has however said he is happy with his new responsibility.
वो हमें निर्देश दिए हैं पार्टी का संगठन के बारे में सब लोगों को लेकर के चलना है और 2017 में फिर से समाजवादी पार्टी की प्रचंड बहुमत की सरकार बनाने है.
However, contrary to assurances from both sides, the internal differences in the ruling Yadav clan is far from over. The present crisis comes just a few months ahead of the assembly polls which are scheduled to be held in early 2017. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the opposition parties hit out at the Yadav family and Samajwadi Party over the ongoing family rift. The parties are calling it a scripted drama to divert attention from the inefficient UP state government.
4.5 साल हो गए. अगर आपने साइकिल ठीक करनी थी तो उसको 4.5 साल पहले ठीक करनी थी. चुनाव से 4, 5, 6 महीने पहले आप कहो कि भैया मेरी साइकिल टूटी हुई है, अब इसको मैं ठीक करूंगा, तो उसका क्या मतलब?
अखिलेश यादव जी श्री मुलायम सिंह जी से और श्री शिवपाल यादव जी से नाराज हैं, तो उनकी बात नहीं सुनी जा रही है, तो उन्हें अपने पद से इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए. लेकिन ये पूरे परिवार का एक नाटक है और जनता जो पूरी तरह से अनेक प्रकार की समस्याओं से ग्रस्त है, अपराधियों से त्रस्त है, भ्रष्टाचार चरम पर है, माफियाओं के द्वारा लोगों की जमीनों पर कब्जा हो रहा है, लोगों को उत्पीड़न हो रहा है, उससे ध्यान बांटने की कोशिश है और उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता का यह प्रत्यक्ष रूप से नुकसान है.
अगर किसी राजनीतिक व्यक्तिगत मुद्दों पर बोलने का और कुछ करने का अधिकार है तो मात्र एक व्यक्ति को है. अगर आदरणीय मुलायम सिंह जी कहेंगे मैं दोषी हूं, अगर आदरणीय मुलायम सिंह जी ये निर्णय देंगे तो मुझे मानना पड़ेगा.
देखिए, मुलायम सिंह के लिए और समाजवादी पार्टी के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती अभी कुछ ही महीनों में चुनाव के रूप में सामने आ रही है और ऐसी परिस्थिति में अगर वो पार्टी को नहीं संभाल पाए और पार्टी बिखर गई या आपस में कोई झगड़ा या डिफरेंसेस हो गए तो उस सूरत में बड़ी भारी कीमत अदा करनी पड़ेगी उनको. अब उन्हें अपना घर ठीक कर लेना चाहिए.
And in Breakfast News, time for a very short break. Up next, we have more news, including all the international and sports news. Stay with us.
Ghatam, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'd be surprised, but the air inside the Ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature: Earth, water, air, fire, and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. Now, with the Delhi NCR reporting at least 11 chikungunya deaths and 14 deaths due to dengue this season, Health Minister JP Nadda held a meeting with officials and simultaneously sought a report on deaths from the Delhi government. Now, Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain has announced a probe into the deaths at the Apollo Hospital yesterday, where 5 patients died, pointing out that no deaths have taken place at hospitals under the Delhi government.
एक बात जरूर कहूँगा कि पैनिक करने की जरूरत नहीं है. देयर इज नो नीड टू गेट पैनिक. दिल्ली की जनता भी आगे आए, अपने आसपास और घरों में भी जो ब्रीडिंग हो रही है मॉस्किटोज की, उसकी रोकथाम करने में हमारा सहयोग करें.
Union Health Minister JP Nadda again appealed to the public of Delhi NCR to not create panic and has also pressed upon the need to maintain regular hygiene. In a review meet held with concerned officials, Health Minister sought a detailed report from the Delhi government after sudden outbreak of chikungunya and other viral diseases. He has also assured of complete support from the centre.
मैंने आज दिल्ली के स्वास्थ्य मंत्री सत्येंद्र जैन जी से भी बैठक के पहले बातचीत की और मैंने उनसे पूछा कि आपको कोई व्यवस्था की दृष्टि से किसी चीज़ की आवश्यकता है. उन्होंने हमें ये जवाब दिया कि हमारे पास सारी व्यवस्थाएं हैं. वी आर वर्किंग अकॉर्डिंग टू द प्रोटोकॉल्स given by the central government and all support is there. हमने फिर भी उनसे कहा है कि कोई भी आवश्यकता हो तो आप हमें बताएं. हमने कहा है कि whatever facilities you need from our side, we are ready to give and we will be working together.
पैनिक करने की बिल्कुल आवश्यकता नहीं है. चिकनगुनिया और डेंगू का इलाज, डेंगू के अंदर 95% लोग अगर डेंगू है भी तो घर पे इलाज हो सकता है. हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट पता करेगा ना कि किस वजह से हुई, क्या हुआ, भाई क्यों ऐसा क्या हुआ कि भाई एक ही अस्पताल में जाने के बाद एकदम से इतनी सारी डेथ्स हो रही हैं.
With few more deaths reported due to vector-borne disease in the last 2 days, the number of cases have crossed over 1,000. This upsurge of chikungunya and dengue cases in Delhi NCR has created a panic among the residents. However, doctors say that chikungunya is not life-threatening disease in general, but in rare cases leads to complications that prove fatal.
मच्छर वगैरह रोकने थे इनको, तो ये पहले रोकते ना. जब बरसात जैसी बंद हुई, इन्होंने फॉगिंग नहीं कराई, कुछ नहीं कराया इन्होंने. मैं तो ये कहता हूँ, ये तीनों की लड़ाई के अंदर आम आदमी मर रहा है.
तो घर घर वहाँ परेशानी यही हाल है. कोई एमसीडी वाला झांकने नहीं आते, कोई चेकिंग नहीं आते, पानी फुल भरा पड़ा है, कोई देखने वाला नहीं है, गंदगी फैला पड़ा है.
But the political blame game between the centre and Delhi state refuses to settle as Delhiites continue to suffer.
1000 मोहल्ला क्लिनिक बनने की जो बात कही थी, जो वादा किया था दिल्ली वालों से, अगर 500 भी बनाया होता तो इतने बड़े पैमाने पर लोग बीमार न होते.
कोई थोड़ी भी इंसानियत होगी तो उसके आंसू आ जाएंगे कि किस बेबसी का शिकार आज दिल्ली के लोग हैं. वो आम आदमी पार्टी जो लोगों की भलाई का दावे करती हुई सत्ता में आई, आसमान के तारे देने की बात करके आई, अब दिल्ली जब चुनाव जीत लिया है और 67 एमएलए के बाद जो अहंकार बढ़ गया है, यही तरह की पॉलिसी जो है वो पंजाब में अपनाए हुए हैं. जन लोकपाल पे चुनाव लड़ने वाली पार्टी आज जन लोकपाल भूल चुकी है.
ये तो बहुत आसान है कि हम एक दूसरे पे उंगली उठाते रहें, और हमेशा राजनीति में उठाई भी जाती है. लेकिन मैं आज ये प्रार्थना करने के लिए आया हूँ सभी लोगों से कि आने वाले कुछ दिन एक दिल्ली, वन दिल्ली करके इस शहर में लोगों के लिए निकलते हैं.
According to National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program, around 12,255 cases of chikungunya have been reported across the country till August, where Karnataka alone has recorded 8,941, Maharashtra 839 and Andhra Pradesh 492. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some international news now. And the United States has signed an unprecedented new security agreement with Israel that will give the Israeli military $38 billion over next 10 years. Well, the deal, the largest such agreement the U.S. has ever had with any country, amounts to $3.8 billion a year beginning in the budget year 2019. After months of negotiation, the Memorandum of Understanding was signed at the State Department by Israel's National Security Advisor Jacob Nagel and Thomas Shannon, the third highest ranking U.S. diplomat. Obama's National Security Advisor Susan Rice, who witnessed the signing, called it a sign of Washington's unshakable commitment to the security of the Jewish state. Nagel hailed the agreement as an indication of the rock-solid alliance between Israel and the United States.
ההסכם הזה ממחיש אמת פשוטה. היחסים בין ישראל לארצות הברית איתנים, עוצמתיים. אין זה אומר שאין בינינו מחלוקות מעת לעת, אבל אלו מחלוקות בתוך המשפחה. הן אינן משפיעות כהוא זה על הידידות הגדולה בין ישראל לארצות הברית.
This marks a significant increase over our existing funding, and it will ensure that Israel has the support it needs to defend itself by itself and to preserve its qualitative military edge. This is the single largest pledge of military assistance to any country in U.S. history. At a time when we're tightening our belts across the board, with the harmful sequestration spending cuts set to return in just a couple years, this MOU nonetheless greatly increases our military assistance commitment to Israel. And that's not an accident. It's a reminder of the United States' unshakable commitment to Israel's security.
On to news from the Middle East, and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov agreed to extend the ceasefire in Syria for another 48 hours. U.S. says that while there have been some violations by both the sides, the ceasefire appears to be holding in the last 2 days, with monitoring groups reporting no deaths in the area covered by the peace agreement. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights on Wednesday said that no fatalities have occurred in Homs, Latakia, Hama, the Damascus suburbs, Idlib and the rest of the Syrian areas included in the deal that began on Monday. However, Syrians' wait for humanitarian relief is not over as yet. 8 convoys are positioned at the border areas poised to enter the country, especially to the worst-hit rebel-controlled city of Aleppo. UN says close to 250,000 people there have been cut off from assistance since early July. But disagreements between warring sides and concerns about safety are delaying emergency deliveries. The UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has urged Russia and the US to push warring sides to allow safe passage for desperately needed aid.
The Secretary did speak with Foreign Minister Lavrov earlier today. And I think there was agreement between the two of them that as a whole, despite sporadic reports of violence, as a whole, the arrangement is holding. And violence is, I'd say, significantly lower in comparison to previous days and weeks.
The United Nations is positioned to utilize this crucial opportunity to immediately deliver vital humanitarian assistance to Aleppo and other besieged and hard-to-reach locations throughout Syria. It is essential that intra-Syrian negotiations resume so that Syria's long-suffering people feel a real change in their daily lives.
Let's get to some more international stories. Here is the World Wrap. The United States will lift the sanctions in place against Myanmar after nearly 20 years, a decision that clears one of the last remaining obstacles to fully normalized relations between the two nations. US President Barack Obama made the announcement on Wednesday after meeting in the Oval Office with the country's State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi. The decision by the White House ends nearly 3 decades of strained diplomatic relations with Myanmar. Hillary Clinton has released new information about her health as she recuperated from pneumonia, with her doctor stressing that she remains healthy overall and fit to serve as the president. Now, pressure had mounted for the campaign to release information about the Democratic White House nominee's medical status after she fell ill at a 9/11 memorial event on Sunday, and it was disclosed that she had pneumonia. Former Israeli President Shimon Peres is in a serious but stable condition after suffering a major stroke, according to the doctors treating him. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Peres at the hospital on Wednesday. Peres had a political career spanning nearly 7 decades, serving in a dozen cabinets and twice as the Labour Party Prime Minister. He later served as the president from 2007 to 2014, before leaving government. Now, Peres also won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994. And China will launch its second space lab today as it works towards setting up its own space station. The Heavenly Palace 2 will be sent into orbit from the Jingwan Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert. Once it is in place, the mission will take its 2 astronauts into the facility where they will stay for around 30 days. China says it intends to build a space station and eventually put one of its citizens on the surface of the moon. And on to some sports news. Slovenia's Football Association head Alexander Seferin has been elected as the new president of European football's governing body, UEFA. Now, Seferin scored an overwhelming victory over Michael van Praag. The 48-year-old now succeeds former Frenchman Michel Platini, who resigned after being banned from all the football activity last year.
Slovenia's Football Federation President Alexander Seferin was elected as the new head of European football governing body UEFA at an extraordinary congress on Wednesday. Seferin defeated 68-year-old Dutch FA President Michael van Praag by 42 votes to 13 and will not succeed Frenchman Michel Platini, who announced his resignation in May after being banned from football for 4 years for ethics violations. He will take on the remainder of Platini's term of office until 2019.
Thank you for your fantastic support. It's a great honor, but at the same time, great responsibility. It means a lot to me. It means, and my family is very proud about it. My small and beautiful Slovenia is very proud about it. And I hope that one day you will also be proud of me. Thank you very much.
Former President Platini was suspended over his dealings with fallen world soccer chief Sepp Blatter, a scandal which shook the sport's global governing body last year. Platini, however, insisted at his farewell speech that his conscience was clear.
Sachez simplement, mesdames et messieurs, que ma conscience est tranquille et que je suis certain de ne pas avoir commis la moindre faute et que je continue le combat judiciaire.
Meanwhile, FIFA President Gianni Infantino expressed his gratitude for his former colleague at UEFA.
Grateful to all the Executive Committee members, grateful to the administration, to all of my former colleagues, and grateful, of course, to the 2 presidents which I have been working with, Lennart Johansson and Michel Platini. Grateful and proud, of course, because many important milestones have been achieved in these years. Many important steps have been taken, and important decisions have been put into force.
The UEFA president post had become vacant in May after Platini failed in his bid to overturn a 4-year-old ban in the courts over an illegal payment of 2 million Swiss francs to then FIFA President Sepp Blatter. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, this is it from me and my team in this edition of news. Thanks so much for watching.